Welcome to the BettingPros PGA podcast. I'm Pat Fitzmaurice, joined as always by Bo McBrayer. We're going to give you a full betting preview of the John Deere Classic. We'll analyze the course, the odds, our favorite bets, and we'll make our one and done picks at the end of the show. But let's start with a very quick recap of the Rocket Classic. Youth is served in Detroit, and so is Bo McBrayer's wallet. 20-year-old Aldrich Potgieter, the big-hitting South African, wins his first PGA tournament. He came oh so close to winning the Mexico Open back in February, but was edged out by Brian Campbell. There would be no denying Potgieter this time. But this year's Rocket Classic was quite the battle royal. There were a lot of players in contention throughout the weekend. At one point on Saturday afternoon, there were 32 players within two shots of the lead.
Yikes.
And there were a lot of guys still in the hunt as of Sunday, including a lot of players Bo and I talked about as compelling long shots on last week's show. Michael Thorbjornsen, Jake Knapp, and of course, Aldrich Potgieter. Aldrich or Aldrich, Bo?
Aldrich.
Yep. So Potgieter got off to a slow start on Sunday after taking a small lead into the final round. He was one over par after 6 holes. That led a bunch of other players into contention: Thorbjonsen, Knapp, Chris Kirk, Max Grazerman, and others. But Potgieter birdied the 7th and 8th holes to jumpstart his final round. Then he birdied 13 and 14. He bogeyed the par 3 15th, but then made a key birdie on the par 5 17th to get him to 22 under par. That got him into a 3-way playoff with Max Grazerman and Chris Kirk. All 3 players parred the first playoff hole. Potgieter and Grazerman parred the second playoff hole, but Kirk missed a 4-foot par putt and was eliminated. Potgieter and Grazerman both parred the third playoff hole and then birdied the par 5 16th hole. Finally, on the 5th playoff hole, the par 3 15th, Grazerman could not convert a birdie try from 34 feet, and Potgieter rolled in an 18-footer to get the victory. Hats off to you, Bo. On last week's show, you talked about Potgieter as a compelling long shot because of how well his power would play at the Detroit Golf Club. I wasn't convinced. After almost winning the Mexico Open, Potgieter missed the cut in 7 of his next 8 events, but he broke the cold streak with a 6th place finish at the Charles Schwab Challenge in late May. He hadn't played in another tournament since then. I know you sold at least one of our viewers on Potgieter, Bo. He sent us a screenshot of a nice 4-figure win. Congratulations to Ryan. So give me your thoughts on the Rocket Classic, Bo, and remind me, what number did you get on Potgieter? Our buddy Ryan got him at 110 to 1.
Yeah, I ended up getting him on Wednesday, along with Max Grazerman, who was too short when we recorded the show last week. I had him on my short list of people to watch as he opened at 35 to 1. That was too short for my liking. I got Grazerman at 45 to 1, and I got Potgieter at 120 to 1. So I was celebrating as soon as Chris Kirk got knocked out, and jubilant when he missed the birdie putt, because Chris Kirk should have won that playoff in the first hole. The first playoff hole, he had the short birdie putt and missed it on the high side. It didn't break at all. He played outside the hole and missed it, and then he got knocked out with the 3 putt. And I was like, okay, no matter what, I got this in the bag. But now I'm kind of rooting for the younger South African because he's going to win me more money. I'd already cashed top 5 bets with Grazerman as well as Thorbjornsen. So it was a very good week. It was our second win this year of 70 to 1 or better. Things are good. The bankroll's happy. I had a couple more roll in that got him at 100 to 1. One guy kind of hedged his bets that didn't pan out early on the tournament and got him at 8 to 1. Just because I was kind of pushing it a little harder once he shot that early 61 or 62, I think he shot on the first day. It was full steam ahead for Aldrich Potgieter. And really, it was another bomb and gouge week at the Rocket Classic. Just as I predicted, it was very similar to the Mexico Open at Vedanta because there's no defense to the course. There's no penalty for being wayward. And although Potgieter is definitely going to struggle on more traditional golf courses that have danger off the tee or danger with how poor his wedge play was, his chipping was a nightmare. If Potgieter didn't win that tournament, we could point right to his short game as the culprit. But thankfully he had enough. He made enough putts to pull it together on that 5th playoff hole and finish the job for us. That was nice. And it was just it was good to be right. We all love being right, but it's really good to be right on somebody who there was a handful of people that were on him as a long shot because of the power element. But again, we hadn't seen him in over a month. He had completely stopped playing in tournaments. He got all new clubs. He redid his entire game over that last month since the Charles Schwab. So that him retooling and coming to a place that was as friendly to his style of play as Detroit, that was all I needed to see.
Yeah, you have to pick the right venue for Potgieter for sure.
Yeah.
You knew exactly when to get back on the Aldrich Potgieter Express. I was not ready to go with you, but overall, Bo, pretty good month of June for the podcast. I think March was our golden month in 2024. I think June has been the one this year.
This if this guy finds a short game, look out.
Let's see if we can keep the heat turned up going into July. We'll get to the John Deere Classic in just a moment, right after Bo McBrayer tells you about the BettingPros app.
Go ahead and download the free BettingPros app for iOS and Android. With Sportsbook Sync, you can automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. Easily monitor your bet performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and parlays. Go ahead and create your own custom betting systems to find winning trends and profitable opportunities. Get your 7-day free trial of BettingPros Premium by downloading the app at bettingpros.com/apps using code JUICE and activating your trial on the upgrade screen.
The John Deere Classic returns to TPC Deere Run in western Illinois near the Illinois-Iowa border. TPC Deere Run is a par 71 that measures 7,289 yards. The course was designed by former tour player D.A. Weibring. As with last week's Rocket Classic, the John Deere Classic is going to be a birdie fest. Go low or fall behind, and we do not have a star-studded field for this event. The big names are sitting this one out. The fairways at TPC Deere Run are nice and wide. The greens are large, and those greens are bent grass, by the way. And there's some elevation changes at TPC Deere Run, so players will occasionally be faced with uneven lies. But this is one of the easier courses the PGA Tour pros will play all year. And unlike last week, big hitters don't really have a huge advantage. After all, Zach Johnson used to dominate this event, and he's always been one of the shortest hitters on tour. Steve Stricker owned this event for quite a while. He wasn't a big hitter. Davis Thompson is the defending John Deere champion. He is, last year he just completely blitzed the field, finishing 28 under par, 4 shots better than Michael Thorbjornsen, Luke Clanton, and C.T. Pan. Sepp Straka won here in 2023. He was minus 21. JT Poston won in 2022. He was also minus 21. And Lucas Glover won in 2021. He was minus 19. It's going to be hot in Silvis, Illinois for this event. Highs in the low 90s and upper 80s. It could get a little breezy at times, especially on Friday and Saturday with winds in the 10 to 20 mile an hour range. Wind should be a little lighter on Thursday and Sunday, more in the 5 to 10 mile per hour range. Bo, your thoughts on TPC Deere Run and what it's going to take to win the John Deere Classic?
It's a similar scoring setup to needing to make a ton of birdies just like last week, but it's a totally different type of golfer. We're looking for good off the tee players accuracy wise. Distance doesn't have any advantage here at all because it's still a positional golf course. It's a shorter golf course, but it's also going to force more layups. Like you can't just bomb it over the trees here. There are trees. The fairways are inviting and wide, but you're going to see more elevation changes. You're going to get a little more nuance and strategy involved versus last week where it just hit it down there like 196 ball speed for Potgieter on a couple holes. That isn't going to matter this week. You're going to want to be in the fairway, taking dead aim at these pins that on big greens that run pretty slow for tour average. It's going to be easy for the guys who are off in the fairway and taking dead aim at getting close on approach. And it's less of a putting contest this week. I think if you have a good around the green game, you're going to do well here. But just like last year, Davis Thompson was so hot on approach. He found the fairway. He's a shorter hitter himself, but he was so close to the pin. He gave himself so many birdie opportunities, and he was just so hot. He made everything he looked at last year, and you're going to have to win. 28 under might not happen, but it will be 20 to 26 under par. I would venture an educated guess on the finishing score being somewhere in that range. Especially when the weather's not really going to be a factor unless you get heat exhaustion. It's been a hot one in the Midwest, as you know, Pat. It's hot here too, but we expect that.
Yeah, hot and muggy here in the Midwest, and think about that. 28 under last year, he averaged a 64 over those 4 rounds.
Yeah, that's
pretty
seven.
impressive.
That's 7 under par average for 4 days. That's smoking hot.
It is. We will get to the John Deere Classic odds in just a moment, but first I'm going to let Bo tell you about NoVig.
Are you looking for a smarter way to play? There's a new sports trading platform that's changing the game. It's called NoVig. It's legal in most states, including Georgia, California, and Texas. It's peer-to-peer, which means you're competing against other users, not the house. You can often get better lines than traditional books. You can set your own lines, which gives you control most sports books just don't offer. There are no commissions or hidden fees. Seriously. It uses a coin deposit system, but it's real money. And you can use code DAILYJUICE for 50% off your first coin purchase up to $25. Check it out now at bettingpros.com/juice. That's bettingpros.com/juice. And Pat, our colleague Mike Mayer, he's bordering on insufferable about NoVig, but I get it because he keeps winning. He's about as much of a fanatic about NoVig as you can get. He's dropping screenshots in our Discord. I had to turn off notifications in Discord because he kept dropping winning screenshots and even losing screenshots that he came really close on. So if you have questions, ask Mike Mayer. He's very happy to help.
Now for the John Deere Classic odds. All odds are courtesy of DraftKings as of Monday. So some of these odds may have changed by the time you consume this show. Ben Griffin is the favorite at plus 1,600. Jason Day is plus 2,200. Denny McCarthy, JT Poston, and Siwoo Kim are plus 3,000. We have a big group at 35 to 1 odds. Michael Thorbjornsen, Luke Clanton, Jake Knapp, defending champ Davis Thompson, Sung Jae Im, Chris Kirk, and Chris Gotterup. Last week's winner, Aldrich Potgieter, is 40 to 1, as are Michael Kim, Kevin Yu, Torborn Olesen, Sam Stevens, Bud Cauley, and Pearson Cootie. It's a rather unusual group of favorites, Bo. Is there anyone you have your eye on from this group?
So I like Ben Griffin. I don't like him at plus 1,600. Sorry, Ben. You're great. You're playing great golf this year, but I'm not betting on you to win at those odds. So it's just not going to happen. If he slips to 20, which I don't expect, I probably expect him to go even shorter from here. So I'll pass. And I'm going to pass on a lot of these guys because this is the tournament for youngsters. This is the tournament. Davis Thompson, not young, but inexperienced on tour last year, lit it on fire. You notice he said the names who came very close to winning last year, very young guys, Luke Clanton and Michael Thorbjornsen in their rookie seasons last year, nearly won this tournament. This is for the youths. So I'm going to take and go with somebody who you're probably not expecting. I'm going to go all the way to Denny McCarthy at plus 2,800. He's the class of this field. Let's be honest. Denny McCarthy is the class of this field. He's got the most complete game. He's not playing as well as Ben Griffin, but he's having a very good season. He's got quite a few top 10s this season. He's got the best short game in this field. And it just comes down to, can he make enough birdies? I think Denny McCarthy absolutely can make enough birdies at TPC Deere Run. So that's where I'm starting my card, plus 2,800. That's the only guy in the group of favorites that I'm interested in at their odds at all.
Great combination of course fit and recent form. McCarthy has finished 6th, and 7th in his last 3 John Deeres. He's also finished top 15 in his last 4 events, including the PGA Championship and the Travelers, which had really good fields, obviously. So, I get why Ben Griffin is the favorite. He's finished top 15 in 6 straight events, and that includes some big ones: the PGA, the U.S. Open, the Travelers, which was a signature event, so it had a really strong field. Griffin finished 5th in his John Deere Classic debut last year, but you said it, Bo. I mean, we're getting Xander Schauffele type odds on Ben Griffin. I just can't go there. Jason Day has played pretty well of late. In his last two events, he finished 23rd at the U.S. Open, 4th at the Travelers. Hasn't played the John Deere Classic very often in his career, but he played it last year and finished 23rd. I just don't know if the price is right. JT Poston, like normally one of the best putters on tour, Bo, but
Not this year.
he's not this year. 93rd in strokes gained putting. He did win here in 2022 and followed that up with a sixth place finish in 2023. But I can't get on board with Il Postino here when he's not in very good form. What about Chris Kirk? Bo seems to be getting hot. He made it into the playoffs Sunday in Detroit, ended up tying for second, and he was 12th at the U.S. Open. Kirk has finished just inside the top 25 in each of his last two John Deere appearances.
Yeah, if I'm looking at Chris Kirk, I'd rather get a guy who's won here before, Michael Kim, who's playing great golf this season. I don't love him at 40-1, but I could be talked into him at 40-1 if we get closer to lock. And I'm not really going heavy this week at all. I'm kind of going to sit on this bankroll until the Scottish Open next week and the Open Championship the week after. This week for betting is kind of a crapshoot, honestly. When Ben Griffin is the betting favorite, then we know we have to be a little guarded with our investment this week. But in this range, if I'm looking at kind of that cusp of favorites versus mid-range, I'd rather go with Michael Kim because he has good vibes here. And Chris Kirk has the worst vibes possible because he choked away a win just a few days ago. It's just too much for me to believe in that guy bouncing back that quickly at a totally different golf course in a field that it has a lot of young guns that are playing really well. I think Michael Kim is the preferred option in this range, although I'm not exactly running to the books to bet on Michael Kim either.
Yeah, Kim won here in 2018, but he has missed the cut in his last 4 John Deere starts, which is kind of unusual. Boy, I felt really bad for Chris Kirk's dad, who looked just crestfallen after
he and
Kirk.
Podkeeter's dad were walking the course together during the playoff.
Oh, that was tough. Well, those young guys, Michael Thorbjornsen finished second here last year and is coming off the 4th place finish in Detroit. And by the way, pretty good like combination for him. He ranks 6th in strokes gained off the tee and 6th in greens in regulation. So tee to green, he does have the game to make some noise here this week. I bet Luke Clanton last week, Bo, and he did finish second here last year, but he has not been sharp of late. A missed cut, a 34th, and a 60th in his last 3 events.
Yeah, he's your ultimate volatility pick because he's either going to push for the win like he did last year, or he's going to go up in a cloud of dust. Like I had Clanton in my one and done last week, and we'll cover that. But he was amazing for 3 days, and his Saturday 77 on that golf course. That's 5 over par when the average score was 3 under par. That was an atomic bad round, and we can't afford that for Luke Clanton. So if you're risk tolerant, which I often am, I would bet Luke Clanton at 35-1, but he was just 70-1, or he's just too short this week. I can't do it. It's too much to watch that go up in smoke like it did last week, where he's either going to make birdie or double bogey, and there's not much in between with Luke Clanton at this stage in his career.
Yeah, Clanton 77 at the Detroit Golf Club, on par with Nick Dunlap's 90 at Augusta National earlier this year.
Yeah.
Let's look at some more odds. Alex Smalley, Lucas Glover, and Ryan Gerard are plus 4,500. Mark Hubbard, Kurt Kitayama, Ricky Fowler, and Keith Mitchell are plus 5,000. Nico Echevarria is plus 5,500. Andrew Putnam and Stephen Yeager are plus 6,000. Kevin Roy, Vince Whaley, Victor Perez, Jacob Bridgman, Thriston Lawrence, Emiliano Grillo, and Taylor Moore are plus 6,500. And at plus 7,000 are Jesper Svensson, Tom Kim, Christian Bezudenhout, and Rio Husatsune. Where is the betting value with this group, Bo?
Can I say not in this group? It's rough. I did see that NorCal resident Cameron Champ is in this field, and he has dropped into this range at 70-1. I'd probably start there because he looked really good last week. But that's just because he has the upside of making all those birdies. Thriston Lawrence, he played well last week, but That's because that's another bomb and gouge course. I don't think he's going to do well in a tighter course with more approach laden results. I just don't see it with Lawrence, even though he's had a decent season. Nico's a guy that drives it well and putts it well, but he's not a good approach player. This whole range is a mess. So I'm going to probably go with somebody else down farther. Some of the younger guys that are a little bit deeper. You could probably talk me into Ryo Hisatsune at 70-1, but this group is a mess. Nobody really playing that great in this whole mid-range. Kevin Roy is okay, but 60-1 for Kevin Roy seems like a ripoff.
I'm going to have Thriston Lawrence on my betting card this week, Bo. Like I hear what you're saying about maybe, you know, the bomb and gouge being more his speed, but I don't know. I'm just getting the vibe maybe that lightning strikes twice, two large South Africans strike twice in a 2-week span at 65-1. His last two events, he was 12th at the U.S. Open, which is pretty impressive, and then 8th at the Rocket Classic. So I'm very interested. I think he's a value at 65-1. I hear you on Nico, but you know, it is an interesting combo. You might be right about his approach game not being good enough, but you know,
gross.
his lack of power isn't going to hurt him,
No.
and he's an excellent putter.
Yeah.
So just a couple other guys from this group. Lucas Glover has 3 top 10s in his last 5 trips to the John Deere, and he won here in 2018. His last appearance this year was at the Travelers, where he finished 9th. So pretty good course fit, and has played decently of late. Mark Hubbard is sort of intriguing. He's quietly played really well. 4 top 15s and 2 top 10s in his last 8 events. Hubbard finished 13th at the John Deere in 2022, 6th in 2023. And Andrew Putnam has finished top 10 in each of his last 2 events, the Canadian Open and the Rocket Classic. And one more, Bo. I'm going to continue to tout Emiliano Grillo as a value. Top 25 finishes in 4 of his last 5 events and finished second at the John Deere Classic back in 2022. But what about long shots? This was the sweet spot for us last week in Detroit. Who could give us a payday at longer odds this week?
For me, it's the turnaround of the season, I think, is going to come down to Max Homa. Max Homa has way too much talent to finish poorly here. He's down at 90-1 in this field. For me, that seems like it's a little bit of a misfit. I'll throw in a little bit on Max Homa at 90-1 with a top 20 kicker. And then we're back to 150-1 odds on Carl Phillips. Everybody's going to be off of him after last week's performance. Last week wasn't a good fit for him. Last week was Thorbjornsen's fit. Thorbjornsen's the bomber with 315-yard average. Phillips is a lesser of a long hitter and more of an accurate iron player and a much better short game. I think that this is going to be coming down to Carl Phillips is a much better fit for this course than he was last week. So I'll be back on him at 150-1 with definitely a top 20 investment because he's got all the talent in the world as long as he doesn't have to really worry about getting outdriven like he was last week. He was so wayward off the tee last week that it didn't come down to anything other than he didn't make enough putts, didn't make any birdies. It was a mess last week, but I do believe in Carl Phillips. He won us a lot of money earlier in the season, and as long as his odds are in the triple digits, I'm going to keep betting him. Another mention would be Jackson Koivu, who we saw play really well last week. His game's a little more balanced, so I do think that he's going to be a name that we see on a continuous basis, regardless of which course it is.
Let me throw a few more names at you. Matt McCarty is interesting at 80-1. He ranks 16th in strokes gained putting. He is a fairway finder off the tee. McCarty was 4th at the Canadian Open, and he just finished 19th at the Rocket Classic. I will continue to tout Sami Välimäki. He ranks 8th in strokes gained putting, 27th in strokes gained and approach. He finished 12th at the John Deere last year, and he's coming off a 19th place finish in Detroit. How about Jackson Suber at 110-1? He just finished 6th at the Rocket Classic. He was top 20 at the Canadian Open. Suber's been very good with his irons and his wedge play this year. And finally, Bo, 250-1. Harry Higgs.
The big rig.
Handsome Harry Higgs. He's done pretty well in events with weaker fields this season. Higgs
like
finished
last
second.
week.
last week, 24th in Detroit, respectable. And he was second to Ryan Fox at the One Flight Myrtle Beach Classic, where he lost in a 3-way playoff. Mm-hmm. So at 250 to 1, yeah, I'll throw a little bit down. All right, Bo, let's compare our early betting cards. Who is on yours?
I want to give you one more just because I didn't want to leave this tournament. I've heard this guy's name a few times this year. He showed up a couple weeks ago, but Cristobal Del Solar is 1,000 to 1 this week. So yeah, you should throw in a couple bucks on 1,000 to 1. Cristobal Del Solar
playing well lately. Yes,
he is. He's good.
All right. So who's on your betting card?
On the card, I have Denny McCarthy at 28 to 1, Mike Kim at 40 to 1, Max Home at 90 to 1, Carl Phillips 150 to 1, and a little bit of Cristobal Del Solar.
All right. I am only betting players to win this week. Like you, I'm going to kind of keep my powder dry this week, but I am going to put some small bets on 7 different players. Denny McCarthy at 30 to 1, Michael Thorbjornsen at 35 to 1, Thriston Lawrence at 65 to 1, Emiliano Grillo at 65 to 1, Sammy Valimaki at 100 to 1, Jackson Subert 110 to 1, and Harry Higgs at 250 to 1. All right, now for our one and done picks. I had Ben Griffin last week. He tied for 13th and earned me $172,000. Bo had young Luke Clanton. As we talked about, he had a pretty rough Sunday, and he finished in a tie for 60th and earned Bo $21,000. $21,024. Bo's at about 7.7 million for the season. I'm at about 7.2 million. You have the honor this week, Bo. Who are you taking?
I'm going to take our guy at the top of the board, Denny McCarthy.
All right. I think I am going to take, I think you were right about Chris Kirk not being the guy. I was thinking I was going to take him, but Bo, I'm going to take Michael Thorbjornsen.
All right.
That is going to do it for this week's BettingPros PGA podcast. Please come join us again next week when we will be previewing the Genesis Scottish Open. Until then, so long, everyone.